Epic Originals presents Out of Time, Lost on the Titanic, written by Jessica Rinker, illustrated by Bethany Stancliffe, performed by Emily Iden. 7. Stowaways. Allie, Vic, and Max tried to find their way to the second-class cabins where they knew Ruth was staying with her family. Luna ran along beside them, happy to be back with her family. On the way, Allie slipped back into the dining room where they'd seen the silver teapot. The room was empty, and some of the tables were set for breakfast. She slid one of the tablecloths off a table, wrapped the teapot inside, and slung it over her shoulder. "This is ridiculous," Vic said. "I don't know," Max said. "I feel like Juniper wouldn't tell us to get the teapot if it wasn't important." "I don't like the idea of stealing, but all of this stuff will be at the bottom of the ocean soon," Allie said, shivering at the thought. "Now let's find Ruth." But the ship was so large, and there were so many rooms and staircases and doors that they quickly realized they'd never find Ruth in time. "We need a better plan," said Max. Vic and Allie agreed. They were going to need to ask someone for help. The only person Allie could think of was Molly Brown. She could warn the crew, Allie told the boys. They'd listen to her before they'd listen to us. Plus, she said she'd be on the upper deck reading, so she should be easy to find. "They're just going to think she's crazy, and she's going to think we're crazy," said Vic. "It's a dumb idea." "You have a better one?" asked Allie. "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. Get Luna to chase her tail right now so we can get off this sinking ship." "I don't care what you say. I'm not going home without warning Ruth." Allie got up on tiptoe to try to make herself as tall as Vic. It didn't work. "Okay, you two," Max said, gently pulling Allie and Vic away from each other. "Don't fight. It's not going to help. It's a good plan, and Allie's right. We have to try." "What about the whole changing history thing?" asked Vic. "I think we should let it slide this one time," Max said. Allie had a valid point. Maybe the ripple effects will be good. "And then we get Luna to chase her tail?" Vic asked. "Yes." Together, they ran back up the grand staircase and found their way to the upper deck. It was freezing outside now and very dark. The wind nearly blew them over, and Allie wondered if Molly would even be out here anymore. Who could read in this wind? But they made their way toward the front of the ship anyway, and there were people there in spite of the cold, tucked into little alcoves and protected from the wind. Bands played music. Waiters served drinks. And there, sitting under a wool blanket and reading a book by the glow of a lamp, was Molly Brown. "Aha! The little furball thief herself," she said when she saw Luna. "Did you bring back my glove?" "No, ma'am," Allie said. "We looked, but we couldn't find it. We're hoping Luna didn't eat it." "She's a regular garbage truck," Max said. "Well, blast if I have any idea what you're talking about, son, but it's high time everyone gets to bed, I suppose." "But we came to find you for a reason," Allie said. She cleared her throat. "There's something we need to tell you. We know something that you should know, that everyone on the ship should know, and we need your help to tell them." "Well, go ahead, child. Don't just stand there letting the words freeze in the air," Molly said. "Get to the point." "The Titanic's going to sink," Vic blurted out. Molly looked serious for a moment, and then her face scrunched up really tight, and she laughed and laughed. "Don't be ridiculous. Everyone knows this ship is unsinkable. You sure have big imaginations." She smiled and tousled Vic's hair. "Get yourselves back to your cabin before you freeze to death." Molly gathered up her things and headed inside. The Titanic sink. Oh, my stars. She chuckled as she went. So much for that idea, said Allie. She looked down at Luna, who was now lying on the ground, panting hard. You okay, girl? Allie asked. Vic, she doesn't look good. Of course she doesn't. She ate half of the ship today. We have to get her home. Yes, we do. And we have to get us home. Let's sneak into one of the rooms and try to get Luna to spin, Vic said. Okay. Allie got Luna to stand, and they made their way to the grand staircase once more, only to be stopped by a frowning crew member, Officer Lowe. You three again. Children are not allowed on the deck after 10, he said. We're going back to our room now, said Vic. And what room is that? Officer Lowe crossed his arms. Vic blinked. Tickets? He asked. Vic blinked again. And what's this? Officer Lowe grabbed the bundle slung over Allie's shoulder. No one knew what to say. That's what I thought. Thieves and stowaways, he said, grabbing Vic's sweatshirt hood. You're coming with me to see the Master-at-Arms. The who? Vic asked. It's like the police on a ship, Allie whispered. She shivered. This was not good at all. 8. Iceberg straight ahead. The temperature seemed to be dropping by the second, so Allie was relieved when they finally got out of the night air. Allie looked over at Max as they followed behind Officer Lowe and Vic and Luna. She was hoping he'd have some kind of plan, but Max only shrugged. They couldn't run and leave Vic, and even if Vic got out of the man's grasp, they still needed the teapot. Luna trotted next to them through the corridor, but abruptly stopped when they turned a corner. A man in a strange metallic cloak stood in the middle of the passageway. Excuse me, sir. Officer Lowe tipped his hat. Escorting these 3 to the Master-at-Arms. I can take them from here, the other man said, reaching for Luna's leash. Allie held it tight. And who are you? Officer Lowe let go of Vic's hood and eyed the man in the tinfoil cloak suspiciously. Vic took a few steps back. My name is Atlas, and I'm responsible for these 3. 4, if you count the furry one. No, he's not, Allie blurted out. And you can't have our puppy. Silly girl, Atlas laughed. I don't want the puppy. Officer Lowe's eyebrows pinched together as he tried to make sense of what was going on. I think it best for the Master-at-Arms to sort this out, he told Atlas. He tried to get by, but Atlas wouldn't budge. He was a large man, and he took up most of the passageway just by standing in it. Plus, light reflected off his weird cloak at all kinds of angles, making their eyes hurt. Before either of the men could do anything, a massive jolt shook the entire ship, knocking them all to their knees. Everything shook. Lights flickered on and off, and Officer Lowe dropped the bundled-up teapot. There's that iceberg, Atlas said, right on time. The shaking stopped, but Allie knew the real danger was coming. She reached down and grabbed the bundled teapot. Let's go, she yelled to Vic and Max. They ran as fast as they could back in the direction they had come from, ignoring the shouts of both men behind them. People began pouring into the passageway to see what the commotion was. The crowd was hard to get through, but it helped them hide from Atlas and Officer Lowe. They ducked into a little sitting room and shut the door. Who is that guy? Vic asked. Must be who Juniper was trying to find, Allie said. Some of the lights flickered, and the entire ship seemed to groan and creak. We'd better make Luna spin right now, or we really are going to have to swim home, Max said, trying to catch his breath. Luna, come on, girl, Allie said in the most cheerful voice she could, even though she did not feel the least bit cheerful. She playfully wagged Luna's tail. Chase it! Go get it! Come on, Luna, the boys said, gesturing in circles, around and around. Luna barked and jumped at all the excitement, but she didn't seem to understand what they were trying to get her to do. Vic spun in a circle. Max spun in a circle. Allie scratched Luna's back. See, you have to spin in circles. The room shuddered. What's it going to take to make this dog spin? Vic nearly pulled his hair out. Allie suddenly remembered. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the chunk of bread she'd saved. It was squished, but Luna wouldn't care. Allie waved it in front of the puppy's face and led her in circles until finally Luna began to spin around. Faster, Luna! They all shouted. After 5 spins, there was a large flash of light. Just like before, their feet left the ground. When they landed, they were back on the sidewalk in Philadelphia. It was sunny, and traffic was noisy. It was as if they'd never even left. Allie still had the teapot slung over her shoulder and the bread in her hand. She bent down and hugged Luna. You did it, girl! You saved us! She said as she gave Luna her treat. Vic and Max bent down to pet Luna too. Keeping that bread was really smart, Allie, Vic said. And it's a good thing you knew so much about the Titanic, Max added. Thanks. Allie smiled. Luna licked Allie's cheek. That was her way of asking, do you have any more bread? All right, we can't waste any more time. Vic took Luna's leash. We're going to the VET right this minute.